Truth Unveiled here, and today I have some serious stuff to go over with you. It has to do with the US Navy and how they just discussed plans to fit humans with microchips and track their every move. Hello, do you know what time it really is? And this comes from The Sun, and it says, Spy Nation, officers met with transhumanist presidential candidate to talk about controversial surveillance technology. What are they getting ready for? Now, it goes on to say that the US Navy has held meetings to discuss highly controversial technology which could one day allow the government to track the movements of every single citizen in the country. Now it says the number of naval officers visited the home of an American presidential candidate and transhumanist called Zoltan Istvan, who believes human beings should be fitted with technology to boost their brain power or enhance physical attributes. And that's always the agenda that they're going to tell you. You know, they're going to tell you that, oh, it's a good thing, oh, it sounds really good, but is there something deeper going on here? And it says Istvan said that they discussed the possibility of implanting humans with chips that were fitted with GPS or global positioning technology. Why would they need to do that? We have seen the correspondence between Istvan and Vice Admiral James Weisskopf, who is retired from full-time service to work in the Navy department called the Chief of Naval Operations Strategic Studies Group, which is dedicated to devising revolutionary warfare concepts. In his letter, he talked how the meeting broadening our understanding of the merger of humans and machines. And what's wrong with this is because what your government's not telling you is that this is their way of what surveillance and spying on you more and more. But of course, they're going to feed it to the public like, oh, it's a good thing. Oh, it's a great thing. It's something we really need. Yeah, that's the bigger agenda. And as I've said before too in some of my other videos, they've already begun chipping, and they've already begun chipping your military and your government and your high officials and even your celebrities. The only ones they haven't chipped is you, of course. But it says, will microchips free us from fear or destroy our freedom? Of course it's going to destroy our freedom. It's already doing that. And it says microchips are already fitted to pets, but not to humans, at least not to most of them. For some people, the thought of being chipped conjures up an image of a nightmarish world where the state carries out constant surveillance on its citizens. Not only that, but then they can track and control where you are, where you're located, where you're going, which way you're going, who you're with, who you're associating with, what you're buying, what you're spending, when you're spending, and how much you're spending. Oh, but that sounds like a really good idea, doesn't it? But Istvan believes microchipping humans could have some major benefits, like what? He claims that it can allow parents to know if their child is in danger, and could even have allowed investigators to find the body of Lane Graves, who was killed in an alligator attack, in a matter of minutes, because we know problem, reaction, solution. And that's the thing, they always try to tug at your heartstrings to make it sound like, oh, it's a good thing, oh, it can help with surveillance and protecting the people. Do you really think that they're really doing this and pushing this to protect the people, or is there a bigger agenda going on? Because exactly, they're going to try to make it into what, an American problem, and try to feed it to the sleeping public when we know better than that. And so I'm also here at the Daily Mail, which also talks about it too, and it says, is the U.S. Navy planning to implant people with microchips? Officials consult presidential candidate on merging humans and machines. What time do you really think it is? And why do you think they're really doing this? I'm going to tell you the bigger agenda, and I'm going to tell you why this is another sign of the end and to prepare for the end. Because your government has been preparing like no other, and that's why they're stocking up and bugging out and preparing with weapons and doing all these Jade Helm drills, because they're getting ready for the new world order, and they're getting ready for the end, literally. But the question is, are you ready for it? Because you are their zombies, literally. But it goes on to say that most of us carrying a tracking device around with us every day in the form of the mobile phones, but some of people are going further and having microchips embedded in their bodies. And that's another thing too, is they're already tracking us. The surveillance system is here, folks. The tracking system is already here. They can track your cell phone, they can track your credit cards, they can track your debit cards, they know exactly where you're going and what you're spending on. If you turn on your GPS, or if you use Google Maps, they can track every single step that you're taking. Literally, they as in the government, they as in these alphabet soups, because they know darn well that that's what they're doing in order to track so-called civilians and to track so-called terrorists, because you could be a terrorist if you're even watching this video right now. And that is just the darn truth. That's where it's headed. You could have ties to ISIS. They know the big bigger agenda, and they know their plan of putting Americans and enslaving them into prison detention centers courtesy FEMA camps. But now, of course, the U.S. Navy has grown so concerned over the practice that is drawing up an official policy to help it deal with personnel who have these chips implanted. And it says that the officials consulted with American presidential candidate and transhumanist Zoltan Isvan to discuss these implications of fitting humans with microchips to enhance their powers and the so-called benefits of them, when we know there are no benefits with this whatsoever. Now, it's interesting when it says that the U.S. Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, one of our favorite, another alphabet soups, is what they're doing. They're already working on microchips that can be implanted into soldiers' brains to make them more resilient to warfare. And that is what they've been doing and have been doing, because your military is chipped and ready to go. Especially those who are at the very top, you know, your generals and your lieutenants, they're all in on the scheme, but veterans cannot tell you this information because they signed a deal long, long ago, never to tell the secrets about how the military and other government officials and how both of them are working together to turn against American citizens. And that is why you're seeing all of these 9/11s and these Orlandos and these Sandy hoaxes that are going on and being perpetrated, because they're taking your rights, your already little to no rights that you already don't have, courtesy the Zionists. But it goes on to say that the military is also concerned about unauthorized technology that their personnel may implant themselves. And he told Mail Online, according to them, quote, "The Navy is struggling to create policy around soldier or sailors that enter military service with non-authorized chips embedded in them. This makes perfect sense since the tech has grown so small that chip implants can now do a wide range of things: tracking, making payments, monitoring blood flow and bodily health, and be totally hidden in human beings." But what they're also not telling you is that they can control these chips to the point where they can literally turn the chip off and kill you in a split second. But they're not going to tell you that, will they? Then it goes on to talk about the meeting and the letter from Vice Admiral James Wisecup, who also talked about this in their own personal beliefs. And of course, they're going to try to, like I said, feed it to the mainstream public and the sleeping public, because they're getting ready and conditioning your mind for these things, because they want you to think that, oh, it's a good thing, and oh, it's going to help and it's helpful to humanity, when this is simply not the case. There's a bigger agenda going on. The end is literally here. They're literally telling you what time it is, but the question is, are you paying attention to these things? Now, of course, this is nothing new. Your government and your military have been doing this for a very long time. This is nothing new, but they're preparing for the worst. They're preparing for the end. They're preparing for their military police state, literally, and they're preparing to enslave Americans and to put them and lock them into FEMA camps come martial law and come the shutdown when it happens. And they're already have the technology ready for when the banks shut down and when you can no longer get your money out of these banks. Are you paying attention? I hope so. But I'm here and I'm showing you this that talks about, from DARPA's website, or the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, that talks about bridging the bioelectronic divide. And this comes from January of 2016, which says new effort aims for fully implantable devices able to connect with up to 1 million neurons. This is a big problem, very interesting and suspicious indeed. Some serious red flags should be waving, some serious alarm bells should be ringing. But it says a new DARPA program aims to develop an implantable neural interface able to provide unprecedented signal resolution and data transfer bandwidth between the human brain and the digital world. And don't get it twisted when they say that, oh, it's a new program and oh, it's a new device. No, they've already had this programming going on for a very long time. It says that this interface would serve as a translator, converting between the electrochemical language used by neurons in the brain and the ones and zeros that constitute the language of information technology, or IT. The goal is to achieve this communications link in a biocompatible device no larger than 1 cubic centimeter in size, roughly the volume of 2 nickels stacked back to back. And the program is the Neuro Engineering System Design, which stands to dramatically enhance research capabilities in neurotechnology and provide a foundation for new therapies. And they go over some of the uses that it can have. They also have done many meetings back in February of 2016 with this device and with this technology. And while they anticipate on investing up to $60 million on this program over the next 4 years, do not be fooled. All of this stuff is ready to go. The question is, are you? And you better be, because I'm telling you, what are they getting ready for? Now, I'm back here at DARPA once again, and I just want to quickly talk about Restoring Active Memory, or the RAM, which is another DARPA program, another secretive government program that these alphabet soups are conspiring to do behind closed doors because they don't want you to know what they're getting ready for. Now, it says through the Restoring Active Memory program, or the RAM program, DARPA seeks to accelerate the development of technology able to address this public health challenge, which is traumatic brain injury, or TBI, and help service members and others overcome memory deficits by developing new neuroprosthetics to bridge the gaps in the injured brain. And who are they going to target after with this? Those who are in the government and the military, especially those who are in the military or those who have suffered PTSD. Those are the ones who they're going to target first. Then they're going to spread it to children and families, and it's going to go from there, because that's the bigger agenda, especially when the economy collapses and when you can no longer get your money out of the banks. That's why you need to get money out now. But it goes on to say that the end goal of RAM is to develop and test a wireless, fully implantable neural interface medical device for human clinical use. And like I said, that's problem, reaction, solution. They cause the problem by causing these diseases, or saying, oh, there's these diseases, that's why we need vaccines, when they only make you worse. Then it goes on to say, but a number of significant advances will be targeted on the way to achieving that goal. To start, DARPA will support the development of multi-scale computational models with high spatial and temporal resolution that describe how neurons code declarative memories and those well-defined parcels of knowledge that can be consciously recalled and described in words such as events, times, and places. And these researchers who are conducting this will also explore new methods for analysis and decoding of neural signals to understand how targeted stimulation might be applied to help the brain reestablish an ability to encode new memories following brain injury. Encoding refers to the process by which newly learned information is attended to and processed by the brain when first encountered. But what if I told you that there's another end goal here? What if I told you that there's a bigger end goal here? And what if I told you that this end goal has to do with the plans for depopulating the plane to 500 million people? And you can look up the Georgia Guidestones, which are readily available in Georgia itself. Don't believe me? Please look it up. Now, what you have to understand, if you don't already know, is that your government is preparing for the worst. Your government is preparing for the end, literally, and it's going to get ugly, because what they're going to be doing with all of this facial recognition and all of these services and technologies, it may sound good on the surface, but what they're really doing with it is that they're getting ready for the citizens to turn against each other, and they're getting ready to prepare for what? Order out of chaos. That's why you're seeing all of these riots and protestings going on. That's why you're seeing them all being funded courtesy George Soros and all those other elite Zionists and from the Illuminati who are at the top, because they're getting ready for citizens to turn against each other. They're getting ready to bring all of the devastating effects to Venezuela, to America, and they're getting ready to turn America into a police state by causing civil unrest that they're going to cause when there's no more food in the stores, in order to trigger martial law and to bring in the police in order to make America into the surveillance state that it already is. And that's why they're pushing this technology. But that's why you need to see the bigger agenda ahead of time. In fact, in an article too, NBC has even come out with and talked about microchipping children. What time do you think it is? But I'm here at the EFF, or the Electronic Frontier Foundation, which is another alphabet soup, which says defending your rights in the digital world. Yeah, that's what they're doing. But this article talks about how the FBI plans to have 52 million photos in its NGI face recognition database by next year. And you know another place that they're getting these photos from? Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. It's time to seriously wake up. But it goes on to talk about how the new documents released by the FBI show that the Bureau is well on its way toward its goal of a fully operational face recognition database by this summer. And mind you, this was the summer of 2014, 2 summers ago, so you can only imagine the progress that they've made in the past 2 years. Now, it goes on to say that the NGI builds on the FBI's legacy fingerprint database, which already contains well over 100 million individual records, and has been designed to include, or designed to include, multiple forms of biometric data, including palm prints, iris scans, and additional to fingerprints and face recognition data. NGI combines all these forms of data in each individual's file, linking them to personal and biographical data like name, home address, ID number, immigration status, age, race, etc. This immense database is then shared with other federal agencies or alphabet soups such as the CIA, the NSA, GSA, the TSA, and all those other ones, and with the approximately 18,000 tribal, state, and local law enforcement agencies across the United States, the same law enforcement agencies that FEMA is currently teaming up with and working with to put you into FEMA camps. Now, I'm here at the FBI, or the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the reason that I'm here is because it talks about the Next Generation Identification, or the NGI, which talks all about biometrics and how they're planning on biometrics. So you can find more information on this website here. Now, I'm not going to go over all of this because I've talked about this in my previous video, which I will leave the link for below so that you can see it. But just know that your government and military are vehemently preparing for microchipping in preparation for martial law, civil unrest, and complete utter government and military control, literally courtesy the UN, not to mention these biometric food stamps and the spy agenda as well. Please seek Yahuwah and his true son Yahusha, because as you can see, time is running out. It's the end, literally. This is Truth Unveiled here, saying peace, love, shalom.